So I'm going to be sticking with the home buying process theme of video tutorials that I've been putting out all week, but today I want to talk to you about acquiring your first investment property. So a lot of people have some misconceptions about this, but really you don't have to be a money bags to purchase your first investment property. Whether you want to acquire a rental property for some passive income, or you want to acquire a flip for some fast cash, there's some really great tools that you have right at your disposal, and you do not have to have a ton of money saved in the bank in order to purchase your first investment property. So as a local realtor in Northwest Indiana and a real estate investor myself, I wanted to talk about two different scenarios on how you can buy either a rental or a flip by using the equity in your home. So as many of you know, the market has gone absolutely insane. Home values have gone through the roof, which means that you most likely have a ton of equity in your home. And quite frankly, it's just sitting there doing nothing when really it could be deployed and making you a lot of passive income. So we all know that there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And today we're going to be talking about acquiring good debt in order to improve your overall wealth. We're not going to be talking about bad debt, which is like racking up credit cards or buying a really expensive car that's going to depreciate over time. So keep in mind, we're talking about good debt here, much less risky, and it's going to allow you to use what you already have that's just sitting there and allow you to get into real estate investing opportunities. So what I'm talking about is called a home equity line of credit. So that's also referred to as a HELOC. And what you would do is you would apply for a loan, just like any other home loan. You would go to a lender, and keep in mind, if you use the lender who holds the mortgage on your property, on the property that you already own as your home, keep in mind that that lender will loan you up to 80 to 90% of the equity that you have in your home. So just for easy math, say you have $200,000 in equity just sitting there in your home. That's great, but it's not doing anything for you by just sitting there being $200,000. It doesn't do anything for you until you use that money and invest that money and grow that money. So what you can do is you go to your local lender, you say that you want a home equity line of credit. All you have to do is turn in the information that they request as you're applying for the loan. And then they send out an appraiser. There's a $500 out-of-pocket cost to having that appraiser come out. Very, minimal expense to get into your first investment property. And so they evaluate your home. What they tell you is your current value of your home versus what you owe on your home, and the difference of those two things is how much equity you have in your home. So sticking with the $200,000 example that I gave, if you have $200,000 in equity sitting there, you may be able to get a home equity line of credit for $180,000. That's $180,000 you can use to purchase your first investment property. So here's the first scenario that I wanted to talk about. So the first scenario would be wanting to get a long-term rental. So whenever you're purchasing a long-term rental or a property that's not going to be your primary residence, the lender is going to require you to put 20% down for your down payment. So that means that, say you were buying a property for $150,000. You would need to have $30,000 for a down payment. A lot of people think right there, oh, well, I don't have $30,000 sitting in the bank, so I can't buy an investment property. That's where you're wrong. You can use that home equity line of credit. Say you've only got $50,000 of equity in the bank. If you were to get a loan for 90% of your home's equity, that would give you $45,000 to use for your down payment. So say you put $30,000 down, which would be 20% of the $150,000 purchase price. You've now used your home equity line of credit to come up with that $20,000 to put down on purchasing that investment property. So now you've got the money for the down payment, and then you've got a little bit of money left over because you had a $45,000 loan on your home equity. So you've still got $10,000 there. You can use that for closing costs. You can use that for miscellaneous repairs before you're ready to rent the property. But really, you can easily find a $150,000 rental that you can purchase in Northwest Indiana. You've got that down payment, you've got the money for the closing costs, and you've got the money for any miscellaneous repairs that you would need to be made to get it ready to rent and start producing income. So that's a really great way to get into your first investment property. But then you might be thinking, okay, so I've made the down payment on the property, that takes care of that. But what about the remainder of the amount, which would be the leftover $120,000? So again, you don't have to have $120,000 in the bank. You can also get a loan on that remaining portion of what would be due to purchase that property. So if you get a 30-year fixed loan on the $120,000 and you use your home equity line of credit for the down payment, you can acquire debt and actually allow that to make you passive income every single month, and you're not using any of your hard-earned money that you have saved in the bank. So what you do is every time you get that income from your tenant for paying rent, you would first go ahead and pay the payment on your home equity line of credit, and then you would pay the loan that you have on that $120,000 to finance the remainder of the property, and then anything that's left over, there's your passive income. So you can really put that money to work and use a small portion of your home equity to purchase your first long-term rental. That's scenario number one. So scenario number two would be if you used, again, going back to the $200,000 in home equity example. So if you had $200,000 in home equity and you take a home equity line of credit for $180,000, you could purchase a property for $150,000, and then that would leave you with $30,000 left over to make those renovations on the property, and then actually sell it for a quick flip and make some money, and then pay down that home equity line of credit immediately. So this is exactly what Ryan and I did back in the spring. We bought a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom duplex in Northwest Indiana. We used the home equity line of credit to completely purchase that property, so we were actually able to be cash buyers. We used our home equity line of credit. We purchased the property cash. We did the renovations ourselves to save on the renovation budget. And then the cool thing about having that home equity line of credit is from the time we purchased the property to the time we sold the property, it was about a 3-month time span. And so we were only required to make interest-only payments on our home equity line of credit loan during that 3 months time. So we made those payments for those 3 months, and that added up to be about $1,000, which is a very small carrying cost to be able to purchase a property cash without having to use any money that we had in the bank. So we purchased that property, we did the renovations, we listed it, we made a significant amount of money on our investment, and then the first thing we did when we made that profit off of our investment property was we took the money from the flip, we paid off our home equity line of credit. It's very important to know we did not close out our home equity line of credit. We just paid it down to a zero balance. So similar to the way you think of a credit card, when you pay it down to a zero balance, you've still got that money accessible to you in the future at any time, but you're not accruing interest on it. So it's just now we still have the same amount of equity sitting there just like it was before we got that home equity line of credit, but now we have that large chunk of money that we can use anytime we see a good real estate opportunity. We can buy the investment property for a short-term flip using our home equity line of credit, put the money into the property, flip the property, get that money back, pay down our loan to a zero balance, and then that money over time will continue to grow every single time we deploy that money. So I hope that this is helpful to you guys. I just wanted to clear up some miscommunication or misconceptions, I should say, about real estate investing and how you can really become a real estate investor by using something that you already have. So many people already have a ton of equity in their home. And if you're curious about how much equity you have, please feel free to reach out to Ryan and I. We'd love to do a comparative market analysis, which that is just a free market analysis on your home to tell you how much equity you have, and then you'll know what kind of real estate investing options you'll be able to get into. So thanks so much for listening, guys. This is Vanessa Kwasny with the Kwasny Team at Century 21 Affiliated.